Good morning, everybody, or afternoon or night, depending on wherever you are in the world. I hope you are having a fantastic day, morning, night, evening, whatever you're doing. And season 2, we've begun. And now we have a new guest speaker as well, episode 7, and her name is Michelle Torbor. Let me explain who she is, right? Because this season, I've been telling you guys, wanting to add something new, definitely to help everyone out. And I've really been looking forward to this episode. So to begin, she is a licensed professional counselor and speaker in Birmingham, Alabama. Michelle is the owner of Cardinal Wellness, where she practices talk therapy with clients in areas including anxiety, depression, and trauma. Michelle received a BA in psychology from Auburn University and an MA in clinical mental health counseling from Regent University. And Michelle is the proud wife of Reggie and mother to RJ and Cameron. So you already know how this is gonna go, and I'm excited. But before we go into the episode, I have to give you all your fun fact, because y'all are pretty adamant on these fun facts. So, all right, Nutella, for all of you Nutella lovers out there. Nutella was invented during World War II when hazelnuts were mixed into chocolate to extend chocolate rations. In an effort to extend his chocolate rations during World War II, an Italian pastry maker mixed hazelnuts into chocolate. So the final Nutella product was created by his son, who decided to perfect the recipe. And immediately I know that my girlfriend, she loves Nutella. So I hope she's happy about that one, because I know she's listening to this and she's gonna, yeah. So there you go, babe. There you go. And to everyone else out there. Okay. So we're gonna dive into this episode. So Michelle, I'm excited to definitely have you on. It's an honor. And if you would like, I already gave them your bio, but if you want to add more, could you tell them a little bit more about you and things like that?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I really am. I don't exactly know what I'm signing up for, but I'm here for it. So as far as anything else about me, most of my life I have known that I wanted to be a counselor. That's not true. Not most of my life. Like high school and up, I knew I wanted to be a counselor. And part of that was because I had my own stuff going on. And so I'm just happy to be a part of the conversation where people are trying to figure out their own stuff. So I find great joy in being able to help people with that. And so thank you so much for including me.
Of course. And just to let everyone know, I'm just now meeting Michelle. So the first time, we're all meeting her for the first time here on the platform. I reached out because I was saying I was looking for a therapist to have on the podcast. I don't think I told you the story. So I was looking, that's what I wanted to add. And then I put it on Facebook, and actually, sure enough, my girlfriend shared it, who then a client of yours seen the post and then recommended, and then here we are. So that's how that began and things like that. So I'm excited, and I'm also glad that you started off that way, because one of the questions that I'm going to ask you is, how did you get into the work that you do
now? So you're probably too young to remember the show Ally McBeal. Do you know that show by any chance?
No. Don't feel like, honestly, there's a lot of shows I don't know about that I probably should know about, or I may have seen it and just didn't know the name. So I'm just gonna be, there you go.
Great show, but I don't even know if you'd be interested. But it's about this. So up until high school, I wanted to be a pediatrician. Which, when I say that out loud now, I don't even know why. Like, I don't really like kids that much, and
love it. Yes, I love it.
kids. I'm a real good mama. But like just aren't my thing. So I don't get why I wanted to be a pediatrician, but at that time it sounded good. So, but I was watching this show. I was obsessed with the show Ally McBeal, and it's about this quirky lawyer who, just has a crazy life, right? And so part of the episodes, she would go to a therapist, and I was like, what is that person? Like, I didn't even know that existed, and so that kind of got my wheels turning. And then it was my senior year. It's time for me to go to college. I wasn't being really pushed to go to college. I just saw everybody else at my high school, like going to the counselor and I was like, okay, so that's the next step. So I just started doing that. Lo and behold, I'm like, what do I need to do to be Ally McBeal's therapist? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
I like that.
Psychology. And so that's kind of how I got started into the interest of it. And then it went from there.
Okay. So that's actually pretty cool. Okay, so I want to know that first. I like that. That's really cool. So did you get what's the word I'm looking for? When people say, oh, you should do this or you should be that, like, did a lot of people say you should be that, or you just, this is what I'm going to do and I'm just going to go for it?
Yeah, not a lot of people told me. I don't know if a lot of people in my circle knew what it was either, right? Okay. But I have always been the person that people come and talk to, right? Just like energy I feel like I have that says, I want to hear about everything that's going on in your life.
I love that part. I want to hear about everything.
Yeah. And so, once I stated it, people said, oh yeah, like I can see that, like absolutely. So people reinforced it, but not necessarily invited me into it.
Okay. So switching gears a little bit, in your bio, you were saying talk therapy. So could you elaborate on what talk therapy is?
Yeah. So talk therapy is really what people think of when people say therapy, right? That just means I'm inviting people into a safe space in my office, or, now we're doing teletherapy, but into a safe space to talk, right? And to have somebody listen to you with empathy, with no judgment, which is what's lacking out of a lot of our other places where we just are talking, right? It is the fact that somebody is intentionally leaning into what you are saying. And so talk therapy is just that. The chance for the person to talk, a chance for the therapist to meet them there. And then, of course, there are other approaches that you're using in talk therapy as far as, like the psychological or counseling approaches. But talk therapy is just kind of that. We're going to create some space to talk.
Okay. So if someone was afraid to go to therapy, because that's some of the things that I've encountered with people just like in talks. If someone was afraid to go to therapy and they're listening to this episode now, what would you say to them?
I would say, that's a good question. I think I would ask them a question. I would ask them why, right? I want to know, why are they afraid? What do they think is going to happen that they can't overcome? And then I would encourage them about the positive experiences that I myself have in therapy. Like, as a therapist, I see a therapist. And that, like, the positive things that my clients experience. I've seen people really their lives change, not because I'm so amazing, right? Because we need that catharsis, right? That's why talk therapy is powerful, because there is something in just saying it out loud. The way that I describe it to people is like, we have all of these things going around in our minds, our heads, all of these thoughts, like they're just hitting us, boom, boom, boom. And saying it out loud and having somebody hear it really allows you to organize it in such a way where it doesn't feel so overwhelming. So I would say, ask yourself what you're afraid of. Can you not overcome that? And just encourage them to give it a try.
Oh, I like that. I like how you did that right there. That was awesome. Like, identify what it is that you're afraid of, and then asking the question. That's awesome. I really like that. And then, okay, that's awesome. Okay, so now I have another question that it's just crazy in the community. But so in your own opinion, Why is it that you'd say, or why is it that in the Black community, therapy is viewed as like a negative thing, in your own opinion?
Yeah. I think there are many reasons for that. Starting with the idea that the Black community has just had to be strong, right? Like, there are resources that we simply did not have that some others did have, and we had to lean on our own just mere strength of just getting through, pushing through, not needing to talk it out or not needing to do what other people might have felt like we just didn't have the space to do it. So you figure out. So I think that is partly it. I think because that has been our parents and our parents' view of things and the way that they had to exude strength, I think they've kind of pushed that onto us and said, okay, well, that is a sign of weakness because I didn't have to do that. And the stuff that I had to go through was much worse than what you're having to go through now, right? Maybe in their perspective, from their perspective. I think as the Black community has heavily leaned on the church and like their faith and religion, I don't think it has to be in competition, but I think sometimes it feels like it has to, like, just trust God or just, you know, talk to your pastor about it, has kind of been the answer for a lot of people in that community. So I think those are a few reasons why it has become difficult, or why it is sometimes difficult for people to make that choice of therapy, because it feels like a weak thing to do. Other people have just had to be strong.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. And you definitely enlightened me on something you said, like it can be in competition, you know, with like their faith and religion and things like that. And that's interesting. I never like noticed that. And I would say another thing to add a question to add to that is, I know speaking with some people, instead of them seeing it as weak, some people would say, oh, you think I'm crazy? So what would you say to that for people who think that going to therapy means that they think they're crazy?
Yeah. I don't, we throw that word around so much, crazy, like I don't even know what it means. But, most people that find themselves I have some extreme severe cases of mental illness, right? Which is what I think people are thinking of when they say the word crazy, right? Most of the cases are people who are just trying to manage and cope with everyday stressors, and how those everyday stressors catch up with us, and then we to feel anxious, or we just find ourselves not wanting to get out of bed. Like, those are the types of things. And that is not, I wouldn't identify anybody as crazy, but like, you coming to therapy doesn't, I mean, there is a spectrum of issues that you might have. There's a spectrum of severity of all kinds of issues. Like, you making the step to come to therapy doesn't put you anywhere on the spectrum. Like, we all need to be talking to somebody. Especially if you're having a hard time managing or coping. Like, call me what you want to, but I'm having a hard time dealing with some things and I need some help. Like, you can call me crazy or not, like, I'm going to get help.
Yeah. Okay.
Same thing with, like, if you're going to a physician, a general physician, like, you go there because you need help. It doesn't put you in a box. Like, no, I'm just going here because my leg hurts or my stomach hurts. You know what I mean? Like,
that's perfect. I like that. That's
cool.
I like that. Like, okay. I really like that, how you did that. Like, okay, you're going to the doctor. Stomach not feeling good? Can't do it by yourself? Might want to go see someone for it. Doesn't make you crazy. Doesn't make you weak. It means you don't want this pain no more. So might go to somebody who's, better equipped. Okay. I like that. Okay, so by the way, I forgot to say, please feel free to ask any questions. So if you have questions and pop up, please feel free. So you mentioned something like with the stressors and things like that. Outside of therapy, what do you recommend, just in general, for people to manage their everyday stressors? So going to work, you know, got a stressful job, you got to come home, you got things to do, you got to feed yourself, you got things outside of that you got to manage. So like what just general, I guess, tips, because I know it's not specific. I know if it was a specific thing you could. So what general advice you could give someone to manage their stressors?
Yeah. So I think I would first of all say assess your stressors. Like what are they made of? And can we serve to get rid of some of them? So, you know, for in this day and age, some people's stressors are, like you said, there's work and then there's relationships. A lot of people, it's social media, right? So what can you stand to get rid of? If you assess that there is a stressor, then like, what can we do about that? Even if it's a relationship, like, okay, well, is that a relationship you need to be in? So first, just kind of ask yourself.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Like, just past episode. But continue.
Go back.
Continue.
So I think just first asking yourself, what are those stressors made of? And then what we all have is our breath. And it is like not respected enough. So it's free and you can access it at any point. And so really finding space to breathe, because if we pay attention, we'll notice that we aren't really breathing all that well, right? When we are, especially when we're stressed out, like we kind of hold our breath, and you know, some of the tension physically comes from that. But practicing breathing, and it doesn't have to be any, you know, people they're afraid of like meditation or like mindfulness. It seems like too much for them, but I really encourage people to start with the basics of breathing, noticing your breath in, out, right? And grounding, finding yourself in the space where you are. Simply put, like, notice your feet on the floor in the room. Notice what your eyes see in the room, right? Because if we can bring ourselves to that present moment, noticing breath, noticing where we are in the space, then we can realize that in this moment we are safe and have peace, right? Most of our stressors are coming from either something that happened or fear of something that's going to happen. So if you can bring yourself in this moment, then you might find that things aren't as bad as they actually feel.
Awesome. And so I want to go into this more. So for a person who is always worried about, I'm going to come at two angles. So a person who is always worried about something that may happen. So let's just say, you know, they're here, they try to be in the moment, and then they're like, oh, but I got this, I got that, and then they start stressing themselves out. So what do you recommend for that person to come back in the moment?
To keep doing it over and over and over again, right? We get tired of ourselves, right? And that's myself all the time. You are getting on my nerves, right?
Love.
Because it takes so many times. These thoughts that are coming up in our mind, like, they are automatic and they are persistent, right? So we want to be able to just say to the thought or say to that feeling, like, okay, no, it's okay. Like, I'm real, like, just be present. And then we want that to be a like quick fix. The reality is these thoughts are persistent. And so we're going to have to say that multiple times. So I would say to that person to practice the breathing, to practice the grounding, and do it over and over again as many times as it takes. Like, you're worth that persistence.
Oh, I like that. You're worth that persistence. Wow, that's powerful. Okay. And then to the other person on the other spectrum, they're here, they're feeling good, you know, they're having their moment, and then next thing you know, something that happened 5 months ago, and they just go down, and then, you know, they stay there, and then they try to get themselves back, but then it's just like, So what do you recommend to that person?
Who find themselves pretty content, and then they're reminded of like a past thing, and then that thing draws them down. Okay, so I'm going to try to make this concise. So part of the therapy that I do is called CBT, Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, which basically says our behaviors are most of the time based on what we are thinking. Our behavior is because of what we are thinking. The problem with that is most of the time we don't know what we're thinking. We are living, going through, right? So the encouragement is, okay, if we notice the situations that are happening in our lives, right? Then notice the thoughts that come, and then notice the reactions that we have based on those thoughts. Then we can begin to do some work in challenging the thoughts. Most people think situations lead to reactions. That thing happens, so now I'm stressed, I feel anxious, my heart rate, has increased, and I feel withdrawn, right? Like, those are typical reactions. And so we think that came from the situation. The reality is it came from the thoughts that we have about the situation. So for that person who has thought about a past occurrence, and that has given them a reaction of stressing out and whatever that looks like for them, then I would say challenge the thought. Most of the time they are not true. Ask yourself, is the thought true? And what evidence do I have for the thought? Because most of the time we're just believing stuff through our minds, and it has no evidence. It's not grounded in anything. So challenge those thoughts. And if they aren't true, then choose to kick them to the side, because we need to start making some choices about our thoughts, right? Like, you don't belong here. There's no evidence for you.
I like that. That's, I hope y'all might want to pause, rewind a little bit and get that, because that was good. Like how you said, like, is there any evidence? And I feel like that's a very powerful question to ask yourself. Like, if you're experiencing, those things, and like how you broke that down, I think that was really awesome, because now that I think about it, it's just funny, because when I'm just going to just living my life and stuff like that, I'll see something, and I'm a manager, so something will happen to one of my coworkers and stuff like that, and next thing you know, they're like, I'm really pissed off. Like, this really got me tight. I'm upset. Like, I want to fire her. I'm like, well, probably not want to fire her in uniform. Probably, after work, but why did it bother you so much? And I'm like, there's like us. Like, I'm just like, okay, all right. But it's, like, it just reminded me of so many just different scenarios where something small could happen, big, small, medium. And like you said, the thoughts, like how someone perceived that could change their whole, day. And just like you said, just being able to just taking those moments, following the breath, and just, like I say, breathe. And then just instead of reacting, respond, and really just ask yourself, like you just said, that I don't have to repeat it, but it was just perfect. Like how you said it, just that, challenging the thoughts that comes with that. Because nobody want to be stressed. You don't want to be tight. Like, you was just having a good day. Like, why do that to yourself? But this is good when like you're saying, just having these skills to challenge those thoughts that's awesome. I like the evidence. Like, is there any evidence of this?
Can I add something to that? Because I think people receive things better when it's less abstract and more concrete, right? So an example at work, right? Somebody is offended by something that somebody does, right? That's the situation. So-and-so said so-and-so, right? And so they have their thoughts about that. And then what you're naming is the reactions, right? Physiologically, their heart probably starts racing. Behaviorally, they like getting all amped up, like ready to fight. And then emotion is, right? Angry, whatever. Okay. So I think it's important to, like, in a situation like that, realize that some of those thoughts that are happening in between actually have nothing to do with this particular situation. So what I found with people where we will, and I will have a whiteboard in my office, like we will literally jot this stuff down, right? Yeah. What I realize is that the thought that comes, let's say, for example, that person was bullied.
Yeah.
Or the person was, in their childhood, had an older sibling who always was aggressive towards them, right? So that finds its way into this conversation. And so they're not bucking up just against this person who just made them mad. They are bucking up against the whole world who has made them mad, right? And that is why therapy, I think, can be important, because it can help you connect the dots. What you're mad about today, that can get, most people upset. But your reaction says a lot more about this than just this moment. You angry about
Hey, thank you. See, you said it so beautifully. I love it. Cause like how you, like, I will see it. And my first thought was sometimes when people go way overboard, I'm like, okay, there's some healing that needs to be done. Cause you took that really far. Like, I can't even see that anymore. I mean, you might need to sit down for a little bit. I don't say it that way. Well, it depends on who it is, but it's like, let's talk about this. But yeah, you said that. You said yeah, because for me personally, I monitor or aware of if specifically if someone made me really mad or I don't like them off the bat. I'm like, okay, why is it that I don't like them? There's something for me, I just like, there's something about myself that they're reflecting over here. What is it that I don't like specifically? And then they probably may do something, and when I observe it, I'm like, okay, I see, I do that in a different area. And it's just like, okay, thank you. You helped me out. You served me there. And then I get whatever the lesson, I go process it, learn from it, grateful for it. And now me and that person are like the best of friends. And interesting too, because sometimes when something may happen and I'll notice like, that really bothered me. I'm like, why did that bother me so? And then I have to, okay, let me take a breath. When I get a second, then I get a chance. Mm-hmm. Hey, why did that bother me so? And I'm like, okay, this happened. Who did I? And then whatever it is usually revealed when I have the moment to like really process it and see it. It's like, okay, this reminds me of when this happened when I was 5, and I did not get over that, but now I can. And then I forgive that person, forgive myself, get the lesson. I'm like, thank you, whoever. And then I feel good, you know what I mean? Keep moving. But it's just like that whole reaction thing, because it's just like, I don't like to react, I like to respond. And we're all not perfect. Sometimes, moments happen and it's just like, but it's like the breath. I feel like what you were saying, if you come back to that breath and just take a moment to really breathe, I feel like a deep breath, especially when you're breathing like with the stomach expanding and stuff like that, like through the diaphragm, I feel like that gives you a chance to kind of like reset for a minute or have a break. But I mean, what are your thoughts on that? What do you're a therapist here. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So it's really, what I love about therapy is like, it is relational. So I get to talk to you about like what your experience is like. But it's also very like physiological, like the neuroscience that has been developed as of late, like gives us a window into why, like you say that, like, especially when I breathe into my diaphragm, like it makes a difference. Well, like neuroscience matches that, right? So what we know is that, and I could go, I try not to like geek over this stuff, but essentially when we have amygdalas, right? Like amygdalas are like things in our brains. We have 2 of them. They're like almond shaped. If you were to stick a finger in your eye and your ear, like you would land on your amygdala, right?
Interesting. Okay.
So they are the things that are responsible for fear and anxiety. If we took them out, you would no longer experience fear and anxiety. Now, we don't want to do that. Fear saves our lives, right?
We need that.
Fear,
lion, run.
Yeah, like fear says I should take the steps and not jump off the balcony.
Yes, there you go. Need that.
So we need that. But essentially, when we are met with these triggers or things that say that we should be fearful or anxious about something, the amygdala is, and I'm trying to shorten this, but the amygdala responds, and a lot of times the responses are physiological. That's like your fight, flight. That's where your fight, flight, or freeze is going to come from, like to do that. And so at that point, the amygdala is going to do some stuff physiologically. And one of those things is it shortens your breath. And that's going to help you theoretically fight, flight, or freeze.
Mm-hmm.
And when we breathe deeply, now if we're just doing chest breaths, like it'll help, but it's not going to like really send any messages back to the amygdala. When we breathe through our diaphragm, what happens is something about the way that particular space is connected to the amygdala gets the message.
Mm-hmm.
I am breathing this deeply, then there could not be a threat.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I'm safe. It sends a message that I'm safe because I'm able to breathe in this way. If that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. I like how you communicated that, like sending the message, like, okay, hey, I'm good. You don't need to do nothing else. Like, thank you. Like, we're good. I like that. Okay. Yeah, I'm glad you went, because that just like how you said, the physiological, like that was awesome. Like that was something I didn't know, like the placements and stuff like that. That's really cool. But just those signals and things, I think that's really fascinating. Okay, thank you. Teaching me stuff. I love it. Okay, so so a little heavier question is, what advice would you give to someone who's struggling with depression?
First, tell somebody, say it out loud. And I think sometimes we just need space to say things out loud so that we realize that it's not as big and bad of a monster as we thought it would be. Here, say it to somebody who is safe, and watch things be okay, right? Like just in saying it. And second, I would say lean on that person, and maybe you all can figure out a game plan. What does that look like? Does that look like you calling a therapist? Does that look like you talking to somebody who might have more insight about what therapy might look like or what the options are? I wouldn't, there are so many things that I would tell somebody who is depressed that's in my office. But if we're talking about, just in general, somebody who is depressed, I say, tell somebody, come up with a plan, and just know that this is doable. It feels heavy. I recognize that you've lost probably a lot of motivation. You don't feel like doing things that you used to do, but there are ways to overcome this.
Okay. So now I want to come at you from a couple of different angles with the first step, only because I've talked with, like, in working with people, there's so many people I've talked with who have talked to me about like their depressions and things like that. I remember I experienced it like, some time ago, a long time ago, and I'm able to just kind of relate because I've been there, got better, and things like that. So one of the questions pertaining to like that first part of talking to someone is, what advice would you give to a person who doesn't feel like they want to bother other people with their problems?
That's a good one. People do say that a lot. And most of the time, those people who say things like that are people who are willing to be bothered endlessly by other people, right? Who don't mind listening to other people, who wouldn't, bat an eye if somebody called them and told them that they needed help. And so I guess maybe asking yourself, like, what would you say to somebody else in this situation? Because sometimes you get yourself out of you, right?
Yeah.
Look from a different perspective. And that there's no shame in needing people. We all need somebody. Like, none of us can do any of this alone. And then, like, you're worth it.
Yeah.
Worth enough to take up the space to need somebody right now.
Okay. I like that. And before I get to the next one, why is it that, because when you said that they tend to be the one who can be bothered by people endlessly, like that was me, like it before. Like I could hear people go through it and I could feel like I'm dying inside, and I will push it to the side because I'm like, we ain't talk about me. Let's help you. Like, so why is that? Is there a reason for that? Is there patterns with that? I'm curious because why is that?
Yeah, I think it can be many reasons. What I see a lot and was really able to see in myself is that I received messages, whether people intended to or not, I received messages as a young person that like my needs didn't matter and other people's needs did. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think people don't always say that directly, but just like existing in a world where it seems to be so, right? Yeah. You take in that information and then you begin to live your life that way. Okay, well, I can't really take up space. Like, it's okay for other people to take up space, but not me. Or you really like attach yourself to that strong identity who other people need help. But
that's what I was going to ask you on that strong identity. Well, okay, continue.
With me, I got it, right? But two, that also can come from that piece where we watched other people need people and we were there and we had to figure out how to do it. We had to say, okay, well, like, I'm just going to have to talk myself through this situation. And then lo and behold, you find yourself where you're not willing to reach out for help, even though it would be totally fine if somebody else did.
Yeah. Wow, you hit that right there. Because I was just going to ask about the strong one, because I remember going back, like that was one of the things I experienced where I was like, yeah, this identity of having to be the one who was there for others. And then when someone would ask how I'm doing, it was like, oh no, like, no, I'm great. Like, you don't need to ask about me. Again, I could be dying inside, but no, I'll figure it out. I got this. Are you okay? Let's talk about you. But it was great how you said that. And then so a question even with that, I'm making sure I keep track of the other questions too. The question with that is I think I just had it. I'm trying to keep track of the other one, but basically being there for someone else, helping them and things like that. Okay, there we go. Is what would you say to the person who, okay, they had to figure it out, or they felt like they had to figure it out because when they tried, other people simply didn't understand. Mm-hmm. So what advice would you give to that person who has tried, but they say, yeah, I've tried to talk to some people, but they just don't get it, or I say it and they just look at me like I'm crazy? So, because I've had that happen too with other people as well. So what advice would you say on that?
No, it's legitimate because some people don't get it. I think I would encourage somebody to not personalize that. Them not getting it doesn't mean that there is something wrong with what you're asking for. Mm-hmm. They just simply don't get it. Most people, because we're not aware of our own thoughts and our own well-being, like how can we expect other people to be there for us? So I would, just be sure to not personalize other people's ignorance. Mm-hmm. Like, let that be in their lane. Like, gotcha. Okay, saying it has something to do with you, not me. And find somebody who does. Again, I know I keep saying it, but like, you're worth it. Like, if they don't get it, like, find somebody who you can relate to and who can relate to you.
Okay, and see, I'm glad you said that, because now it's funny because as you say it, then all of the other things that I've had other people tell me, I'm like, okay, I know they're gonna listen to this, so they getting this. So you said, which was great, not personalize it. So how do you not personalize it when it's someone who you're trying to talk to, who you're really close with, or you really care for? Like, how do you in their case, they have maybe say a few people that they only talk to. So if they don't get it and that's the only people they talk to, how do they separate, not personalize? Okay, those who didn't get it, so what am I going to do now? Who else is there? So what would you say then? That's when you should go to a therapist then, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So when I say don't personalize it, I mean, don't let it make a statement about who you are.
Okay.
Or about your experience.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, you are human, so you might feel sad.
Mm-hmm.
The person that you want to be able to depend on can't be there for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. Like, be human. Let that make you sad if it makes you sad.
Yeah.
But don't personalize it. Just because they don't get it doesn't mean it's not a worthy thing for you to be pursuing.
Mm-hmm.
And then if all of your personal connections are not there, then absolutely find a therapist that you relate to, and that might take some time. Yes, give it a try. What else do you have to lose would be my question.
That's true. Okay. Now let's see. There's another with the beginning step. Backtracking in my head here is I know when talking with some people, we would talk about therapy, but therapy was always this weird subject. Some people were like, oh yeah, go to therapy. Some people are like, I don't know about that. And others are kind of like in this weird space, like, I don't think my problems are that severe where I need to go to a therapist. So I think I'm just stressing it out. I'll figure it out. What do you say to that? People who may say that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would just be that, like, knowing that all of it matters.
Mm-hmm.
And like, there are people in a lot of therapy rooms who are not dealing with severe issues.
Yeah.
I mean, you won't be the only one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is normal it is common for people to go to therapists for stressors that aren't severe.
Okay. I like that. So guys, that's normal. We can go talk. No excuses. Okay.
Oh, very normal. You don't have to stay forever, right? It's like a lifetime commitment to do therapy every week. But, a lot of my clients will come in and, like, stressors will come, they feel overwhelmed. They'll schedule a few, and then they'll drop off the map for a little bit. And then when they need me, they're like, okay, I need to come in. So there is no, like, one way to do this where you feel like you're, like, giving yourself over to the process.
Okay. I like that. So, guys, there you go. You're getting information. Okay, and then trying to see, because there's more than one. There's a couple of cases where people I've worked with, they would say that, they'll struggle with the depression. And some people would tell me, who I did not think were depressed at all, was shocked. They would say that the reason they either don't talk about it or don't get help is because they feel like no one cares. Mm-hmm. So what advice would you give to those individuals?
I would ask them, is that true? What's the evidence for that?
No, I like that. Okay, guys. All right. Something there. All right. I like that a lot. So you could have giving me skills here to talk to these people. I'm like, what evidence? Like, you been to school? No, I did not. But I connected with an amazing person. Drop some gems, some gold nuggets. Some questions for y'all now. Okay, so I think this is this is a big one. I said it a little bit earlier, but it's a little bit more. This is one of the, I think, the strongest ones I've heard is, so the question is, so one of the fears I hear people say is that they don't want a therapist to see them as crazy and put them on drugs. Is there any clarity you could give a person who has this strong fear on that?
I think medication is one response to some of these issues. It's not the only response. So as a therapist, I cannot prescribe medication.
Mm-hmm.
So you need a psychiatrist to prescribe medication. So for some of my clients, I get that a lot, that people don't want to be on medication. They don't want to be dependent on it, which is understandable.
Mm-hmm.
For a lot of people, therapy, like talk therapy, helps them to cope in ways where they don't need to be medicated. Well, there are some chemical imbalances, though, that that medication helps with. So you can even just get your bearings together to be able to learn how to cope, right? Sometimes the imbalances are off where, like, I can give you all the coping mechanisms and tools, right, to use, but like you're just not there. Depression, like, is happening so deeply, where you just can't even receive any of that information. So in some cases, medication is useful. But if you can find you a good therapist and a psychiatrist who is going to be honest with you, not just a one quick fix, like, okay, this is the cocktail that we give you. I think that is key. And if they understand that, like, I'm willing to take medication if I need it, but I don't want to jump into that really like quickly, then that's good for them to communicate to their clinicians, so that they can get what fits them and not just a quick fix. And you don't have to, again, I think I said this at the beginning, but like, you don't have to be something that is not as prevalent as I would love for it to be is therapists working directly with psychiatrists, right? In the world of mental health, a lot of times they work isolated, which I think doesn't really serve the client very well. So I have some relationships with some psychiatrists where we both see the same client and we consult on what we're doing, which I think if you can find that fit is like key.
Wow. Okay. That's powerful there. You showed me something else I didn't know about that at all. So having both of those people, those resources available to you, that's wow. Okay. That brings me to a question that I hear so many people struggle with, and I really wanted to ask you is, people say it's very hard for them to find the right therapist. So is there any advice you can give them? And then there's another question that ties into that, but just for that, is there any advice you can give them?
That's a good one. Oh, I think, first of all, give yourself permission to try one and not go back.
Okay.
Right? Okay. It is, if they are a good therapist, then they too realize that everybody's not going to be a good fit for them. So there is offense taken if somebody comes, tries out your services, and it's just not, like, the rapport isn't there, the relatability isn't there. Maybe there's some things that one therapist has insight on that another one doesn't. Like, so it is okay that if you try one, so let's just say you look online and you're looking at profiles and you say, okay, these are the issues that I'm in need of. Like, I'm struggling with anxiety, I'm struggling with depression, and I got some trauma in my background that I really need to address. Okay, then I'm looking at profiles online, and then I see, okay, here are 5 people who seem to be a good fit for those issues, right? So start with the issues, somebody who can address those for you. And then, look for some other relatability things in which you might be able to relate with them. Okay, they seem to be a good fit because of this. And I think people's websites, really, if you read into their like profile and the information, the descriptions, their approaches, it can give you some insight into them and their personalities that might be a good fit. And then I would say, again, try it and realize that if you try one and that's not a good fit, then it's okay not to go back and to try another one. And maybe you need to give yourself some time too, because it does take time to build rapport. So people are so nervous sometimes on that first session that maybe they can't really gauge if it's a good fit or not. Like, give it a couple of sessions to see if it's a good fit.
Okay, thank you for that. And another thing that I hear, and especially like in the community and the people that I'm around, a lot of people say they would love to find Black therapists. Because they would say some of the things, some of them have went to a therapist, and they had different ethnicities and backgrounds and things like that. They say they just felt like there was a disconnect, so they would prefer to speak with like a Black therapist who there's some relatability. And do you know any, I mean, obviously you're one, so that awesome. Do you know like any like resources they could even find to look for that specifically instead of just general, or any tips on that?
I don't know any resources off the top of my head. Um, but I think I filled out a profile on like on this marketing thing the other day, and he was asking questions about the races of clinicians in my office, right? So mine, and then other people who would be working with them. So I think we're kind of moving into a world where people realize that it matters, because it's a real thing, right? I've experienced it myself, going to different therapists, and like there being some topics that, not that they can't get and empathize with, but like it takes more work.
Yeah.
To there, like I have to explain to you why a certain thing, related to race might be hurting me in such a way where that's not so automatic,
Right.
So I know it's a real thing. I don't know any resources right off the top of my head, but I know that there's some like Psychology Today is a big one where people put where therapists put their profiles on there. There's a space where some people highlight if they are like specific to the kind of clientele that they would serve. And for a lot of people, that is now including, minorities or Black or Latino or whatever it might be. So it might take some work, but that information is in some of those profiles.
Okay. Awesome. And I don't know what he's saying here.
I rambled on about that. Sorry.
No. Hey, I appreciate any information that can help them. That's awesome. Just the last two questions, because I know I'm looking at the time. The last two questions before we go into the last segments are, you said it before, but just so they can hear it again, what would you say in your own words, what are the benefits of therapy, and what have you experienced, if you can say that? I know there's privacy. So like that you generally seen others have after therapy. So the benefits of it.
So I can make it personal, right?
Okay.
Me going to therapy has given me a space to say out loud things that have happened within me that I haven't had time to pause and sit with. Right? So my days are busy, I'm working, I go home, trying to be there for the kids and the hubs and all that stuff. And like, I don't really have a whole lot of time to sit down with myself. Right? So therapy allows me a space to explore what all has gone on in me throughout a week or 2 weeks or however long. It gives me time to explore those pieces where like all these situations have happened and I've reacted in these ways. It gives me time to pause and really consider what those thoughts are. A lot of times those thoughts are what we call core beliefs, right? It's kind of like a thought that we hold in our back pocket, and sometimes we like see everything through that lens, right? So failure, or I'm not worthy, or something like that. So it gives me time to recognize that some of these thoughts that have crossed my mind and led to some negative reactions, it gives me time to explore the evidence for that. Right? Okay. To say, okay, yes, I've reacted these ways because it felt like in that moment I was unworthy.
Yeah.
When I sit down with my therapist, I'm saying some things and really realizing as I'm saying it that that's not actually true. Like I have, I'm talking through evidence without even knowing that I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And it gives you time to like collect tools like that, to take back into your everyday life. In particular, I do a lot of trauma work. And we have a lot of times stuffed that stuff so far down in us that we don't recognize how much of an impact that it is having. And so I think exploring your childhood trauma and even your, your adult trauma, exploring those pieces of yourself it serves us so well to just name it and know that it is worthy of being explored. And so those are a few things that I think are the benefits of sitting down with someone and talking through what's going on with you.
That's powerful. All of that is very, very powerful. Allowing yourself to have the time to process it, especially in a world that's so fast paced. Like here, something just happened. Okay, well, I got to be somewhere in like 10 minutes. So you got to go there. Next thing you know, 7 things that happen in your home. And it's like, oh, now I got to prepare for tomorrow. And then like, now I only got 7 hours to sleep. Like, and then redo, so that's awesome to prioritize yourself and to give yourself that time to just really just look at what's been going on under the hood. And I find that to be really awesome. I mean, those are amazing benefits, and I feel like this gives people a chance to just slow down and really just look at what they're experiencing, why they're experiencing, what tools are not serving them anymore, what new tools they need to add, So I really like that. And then just like that, the last question is affordability when it comes to therapy. Is there like, I've heard some people say like it's expensive for them. Some people jobs provide. Some people, I'm not sure. So is there like if someone, I don't know, people working now, things like that, I know times is crazy, whatever, and someone wanted to do it, is there affordable ways they can go, or any tips on that for someone who may want to do it?
Oh, this is the thing I wish I could do something about. Like, really make a change from the top down on the affordability of mental health care. So there are ranges. And, some people, if you have insurance, then insurance policies cover some of that for some. There are people who offer sliding scales, right? So they will give you a price that matches, per your household income. There are places that have interns, right, who are students, and sometimes that can be a little scary to like try an intern who's just learning, but these are people who have been in school, who have practiced, who really have, and not all of them, I'm not vouching for all of them, but I have an intern with me right now who is phenomenal, and she I feel like school is what you have to do, but she has that thing in her, right? But that gives also agencies and private practices abilities to offer counseling services at a lower rate with interns. So that's an option if you don't feel like you can afford, a licensed therapist, like trying an intern. And again, if that intern doesn't work, okay, that was a nice try, I'm going to try somewhere else, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So there are options out there. I wish there were more. Those are a few options.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Hey, at least they have options. So, I always say if you really make it a priority, you will find a way. But, there are options. But thank you for sharing that. That's really good. I feel like they can, look and see, okay, does my insurance cover this? Okay, does my job, da, da, da. So, okay.
Well, and that's what you said is also a good point, because, I do a sliding scale, and, I will have clients who, have taken advantage of that, which they should, right? But then in session, I get to learn about all the lavish things that they do in their world.
That part.
So if you could out, that Starbucks every day, or that piece of clothing for a while, and store up on you a therapy fund, then that's
Yeah, there's a few things we can cut out. Like you said, those clothes, those foods, those meals every day, that expensive hobby of yours, not generating income back in, but we all have our things. So, we can put it to the side. We can put it to the side for a little bit. Like, I think my mental health is worth it. You know what I mean? I can put this down. Okay. So before I go into the next segment, did you have any questions before I go into this one for them?
Do I have any questions?
Yeah. I always like that. No. Sometimes like we're going through a lot of I just like that.
Oh, no, I can't think of anything.
Okay. So, guys, I hope you got amazing. Yeah, no, not hope. I know y'all did. That was awesome. Like, yeah, that was everything she said, the tips, the skills. After listening to this episode, I am sure, positive y'all gonna come out differently from this. Y'all gonna replay this episode. I know. I'm gonna get comments, so it's okay. Here for y'all. So, and she is too. Because all of her information is going to be in the episode as well. She is amazing. I would say just this episode, you can get a feel of her energy and things like that. And she's awesome. She's funny, relatable. So I'll have all her information below so you can all reach out to her. And as you all are aware, we're about to get into the gut check. So I know, we got into this. So I'm giving y'all a little minute to breathe water. Some people told me they had to pause it a little bit because they're like, okay, I got to get my nerves ready for this. So I don't know, but I'm gonna be light because last week I just gave it to y'all, but you're better now. So, okay, so the gut check. Now we've been talking about mental, and emotional health and everything. So for you all, this is for the audience here. So if your mental and emotional health is not in your top priorities, so, this is including your food that you're going to make sure you eat. This is including that bill you're going to make sure you pay by the end of the month. If it's not at least up there, top tier, what is it then in your life right now that's more important than your overall health? And I want you to think about that for a minute because you may think, oh, like my mental health is important. Okay, that's a statement there. Where's the actions with that? So what are you doing exactly to make sure to reinforce, okay, my mental health comes first? Is social media a thing, that you're kind of distracting yourself from? You don't have time? Okay, is it somebody else? Are you, putting more priorities in another relationship outside of your relationship with yourself? Like you might need some time for you? Like there's maybe something. And if you're not, then you're good. You're fine. This ain't for you. But if this is, you feeling a little guilty, you feeling a little tight about this, you might want to breathe, might want to sit back and just look for a second. But, I'm just messing with you guys. Seriously. And I just want you to really just think about it for a minute, because if there is something that you are putting above your mental health, is it really serving you for your highest good? Really think about that. And as she said, you're worth it, So this is something for you all to really just think about. I'm going to be a little light with you all. The next episode, I'm not. So just know. But I wanted to ask you, Michelle. So like, is there any things or have there been any people that you have experienced that may put things above their overall just mental and emotional health? And if so, what advice have you given them to do better?
Yeah, I think a lot of people put a lot of things over their mental health. Most of the time it's other people that are mental health. And so in that case, what I like to tell people is you being your best self sets you up to help those people you want to help. Right? The example of being in the middle of the ocean, right? You're in the center, the raft is on the left, the other person that you want to save is on the right. We many times want to go straight to that person and save them. But it is best for everyone if you go to the left, go save yourself, get the raft, and then go and save the person on the other side. Serve both of you better. if you go directly to them, chances are you both may drown.
Yeah, yeah. You don't want to do that. It's not fun.
Do that. And so
Yeah.
my encouragement is to, take care of yourself, because one, you're worth it. Two, it actually does help you to be able to serve others in more powerful ways.
Yeah, exactly. And guys, doing that, helping yourself first before others, we give that 5-star rating, helping someone else before you and you drowning. That's like a 1-star. We don't recommend that, not highly recommended, so.
I wish I had 2 more hands. I would give that some.
Oh man, I love it. Okay, the last column is the advice column. So if you are new to the podcast, first, welcome again. And the advice column is pretty much you just message me either on IG or Facebook for advice on just how to connect better with yourself or those around you. I'll pick 2 answers, and then we'll go into the next episode. But these 2 lucky people, they have an amazing therapist on this episode, so I'll answer first and get someone who's better at it than me. So the first one is from Mina. She says, I have a hard time communicating how I really feel to others. I don't know how to say something bothers me, specifically to friends or associates. Any tips? And really, I'm glad you said okay, what it is specifically that you have a hard time. So something that bothers you. So, gosh, I feel like I can go so many areas with this. But I know I said I'll go first, but I'm curious. What would you say? You go first. I'm curious what you'd say. I'm very curious on this. I'm like, I got a lot of angles I can come at this. But what would you say first to that?
Yeah, so this is pretty common. And people are oftentimes thinking they are mean or bad for wanting to be able to say these things. But this is something we all have a right to, right? Assertiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And I think of assertiveness as saying how you feel and asking for what you want or need.
Okay.
When we frame it in that way, then maybe it might not feel as aggressive or as strong as just saying the thing in the certain way that you want to say it, right? If you just sit, take a deep breath, say, listen, really, I just want to let you know that I feel really frustrated or sad or confused about fill in the blank. When you did so and so, I felt fill in the blank, right? Identify your feelings. And then you can be a little vulnerable and say why you think that might hit you that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then simply ask. So my ask is, can you not talk to me this way? Or can you help me do this? Or, it's hard because I don't know the specifics of the situation, but being clear about what your ask is. And that is okay for you to feel a certain way and have asked. People do not have to meet you there.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a right to ask.
I like that. I think yours was better, put in minds, because I like your answer better. I think we should go with her answer, because my answer was going to be along the lines of okay, hey, pull that particular person to the side, away from people, that's just me. And when I say if I'm communicating something and it's bothering me and it's related to someone, I'm like, okay, pull them to the side so they don't feel embarrassed, you don't feel a certain type of way. And then, from there, just say, hey, this is, if you're uncomfortable, I say be your authentic self. Hey, this is a little uncomfortable for me, but I'm gonna do my best here. But I just wanted to let you know that when you did X, Y, and Z, it made me feel this way. And I just wanted to communicate that to you, that it bothers me. Is there any solution that we both can come up with to resolve this so this doesn't happen again? That's something I would have said, but yours was better. So I like yours.
No, I like it too. I think if we marry those, that's good stuff.
Okay. I like this. Okay. She approves. Okay. So I guess I know something a little bit. Y'all. Know something a little bit. Okay. And the next one is from Joey. And Joey says, I'm afraid of being alone, but at the same time, people have hurt me in the past. I feel stuck. Any advice on how to overcome this? So being stuck between a rock and a hard place. I feel like that. What do you think on that? Because I think that's a good question. I don't know. Like that's. What do you think on that?
So he feels alone.
Hmm. He's afraid of being alone.
He's
But
afraid of being alone. Oh, but at the same time, he doesn't trust people.
people hurt him in the past, so yeah, he feels stuck with that.
Hmm. Um, I'm sorry, Joey. That is a hard place to be in. So I think taking some time to heal is important and really sitting in some of those feelings of being hurt in the past.
Yeah.
We're going to take some time to heal before we like jump into relationships just for the sake of having somebody around.
Hmm.
So while I get the sentiment that you don't want to be alone, like maybe there is a season of our lives that we should focus on being alone for the purpose of healing. And that way, when you do it again, when you do take a chance at trusting someone again, you can do it more wisely. You can do it from a place, where you have stronger boundaries and maybe decrease some of the chances for hurt. But do it from a place where you are healed and well.
I like that. That's really, I love that. I don't think I need to say anything, honestly. I think Joey got his answer right there. You got it from a pro here. So, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Really, I really appreciate that. That's really good. Like, I like it. I love your approach with it. Like just even in the beginning when you said I'm sorry, like, oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Like just that, and then how you went into it. So I really like that. I know me, I'm like, okay, I would have said it, like, all right, this okay, you've been hurt, so but it's just how you said it. My only way I think it's the same, honestly. I just would have been, okay, hey, you've been hurt in the past, okay, you're afraid to be alone, but first let's dissect this hurt. What happened? Is there a pattern there? These same people, have they been hurting you? Is it emotionally? Like, have they been saying something specific? And I would say, instead of looking at it as a pain, look at it as like, okay, how are these people helping me or serving me, or what are they presenting to me to make me become my best version? Having first that mental shift of, okay, this isn't hurting me, but this is helping me, and then dissect that, work with that. But like how you said, going into the healing and sitting into that, and then like how you said, increasing the boundary. So that's always my approach. It's like, okay, something happened, boom, let's face it. What is it? There's clues here. See how it serves you. Do you need to forgive here? Do you need to look at something? Is there something about yourself that but you've been denying? Like, what's happening? So, and then not being alone, then it's like, okay, build a relationship with you. Let's start with you. Okay, this is probably a good time for you to build a relationship. Like, how are you? Are you happy with you? Why are you not? Or if you're not, why are you not? But see, like I said, it's the same thing you said. So I just feel like it's the same thing, but you got the same answer. There you go.
We're a good team.
You're awesome. No, you're the leader though. You're the leader. You're the pro. You're the pro. You're the pro. You're the pro at this. So with that being said, that's it. Is there anything you want to add to this before we end it?
This was fun. I love that. I love that there are spaces like this where people can get a real version, right? Like, the therapy room is, I believe in it. I think it is good, right? But I think there are other resources around us that can build us up. And so I love that you're doing this. I love that I got an opportunity to be a part of it, of you really pouring into people. I think it's a beautiful thing.
Thank you so much. I really greatly appreciate that. That's like my thing, loving to help people connect with people. Like, okay, let's bring other people to perspectives, someone who's more knowledgeable, who's skilled in this, to be able to help those who listen. So I thank you for that. And also because you just let people know where they could find you. They want to connect with you, take your services. Where could they find you? Where could they reach you and things like that?
Yes. So my private practice is called Cardinal Wellness. So the bird, Cardinal Wellness. And my website is cardinal-wellness.com. We have an Instagram and a Facebook that I think is just straight Cardinal Wellness. So yeah, look me up.
Okay, awesome. And guys, I'll also, for some of you who are listening to the podcast, probably while you're driving and stuff like that, whenever you stop, either at a red light, you know what I mean? Some of these red lights are long, or when you get out the car, I will have her information below, and I'll have the links on there, so you guys can just click on it just from the app, and you can connect with her, because we're in 2020 and it needs to be fast. So got you guys. And with that being said, everybody, thank you so much for taking the time to press play. I appreciate you all for taking the time to invest in yourself. Thank you all just for, again, listening wherever you are at in the world. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate everything that you all do. I'm glad you keep coming back, because I know y'all love these gut checks and more, So with that being said, guys, that is it. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day, evening, night. And I will talk to you all next Tuesday. All right, guys. Later.